All right, guys, so I'm going to conclude how I found out. I originally posted that story about a year ago, December of 2022, and I have healed tremendously since then. So I'm very grateful for that and just thought, why not shoot it again? So here we go. And pretty much had left off how we were at the hospital and, they gave me the news that Ryan had passed on. And I was pretty much in a state of shock. And, they asked me if I wanted to go see him. And of course I wanted to see him, but it just wasn't ideal circumstances. I mean, was it ever going to be ideal? Probably not. But what I'm trying to say is I had the boys with me. I didn't, how was I going to do that? I asked them, and oh, we'll watch the kids while you go back there, and, I was mentally preparing that just to see him in that condition, I mean, I don't think you could ever fully mentally prepare for seeing your love, your partner, your spouse, father of your children like that. And so, we left the small room and we started walking to another room. And again, the ER was cleared out and it was just staff in there. They cleared it out because of what had happened. And again, I believe there's more to this story and we don't really know the full details. They pretty much told me that Ryan wasn't honest about his drug use, and apparently he had gone in the bathroom one last time and he shot up something in the bathroom, and he came out and he was acting crazy and he ripped out his IV. There's even this video of it in his phone. It's the last video on his phone. And it's, basically a shot of the hospital floor and blood splattered everywhere. And, the lights are flickering. It's just very eerie and I don't know. But apparently that's what had happened. He was acting crazy and they said erratic. And you get mixed reports where he was restrained after that, and then they said he wasn't. I don't know. Someone who's having breathing problems and then you restrain them. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I understand he was acting crazy, but I just don't feel like I got the whole story to this day. And again, I just feel like there's a lot more, and maybe we won't ever know. But from what they told us, or they told me that day, and Frank as well, and Frank and I have talked about this many, many times after that, he'd come out of the bathroom and he was acting crazy and, then he just stopped. He stopped and basically dropped dead. He went into cardiac arrest. His heart stopped and that was it. And they tried to, resuscitate him for an hour and it was just, they weren't going to get him back. So we were walking, from the little room to the room he was in, and I just remember walking down this long hallway and everyone's just looking at me and, they're crying and have their heads bowed, and, I'm just kind of dragging my feet to get there. And one of the male nurses is helping carry Wylan in his car seat, because again, I mean, he was only a couple months old at this point, and Nico was 4. And I'm sure, that was really difficult for Nico. I mean, again, I was holding a lot of emotion in because I didn't want him to see or really see what was going on, and he didn't really understand. So eventually we get to the room. I'm with, the doctors and the nurses, and they're like, okay, he's in this room and we'll wait out here. And it's, your typical hospital room, and there's curtains up going into it. The door's open, and there's chairs outside of the room, and that's where they were posted up, the staff with the kids. So, you know, obviously they stay there, and I walk into the room, and, you know, I see the curtain, and then I see the bottom of his feet, and I know what his feet look like. I know it's him, you know. And, you know, there's a sheet over him, and I kind of pull it down a little bit, and I put my hand on his chest, and he's still warm, you know, and it's just like, of course, the tears start coming down, and he still had like tubes in his mouth, and, you know, he had dry, cracked blood going down his face, his throat, his chest. And, you know, I start talking to him, and I'm crying, you know, and not hysterical like I wanted to be, but I knew the children were out there. And literally probably back there for 30 seconds, I look, luckily the curtain was up, but I look and I see Nico running towards me. And I'm like, what the fuck? So immediately my attention goes to Nico, and I'm like, no, get out. You have to go out here. And I'm just seeing red at this point. I am furious. I'm pissed off. Like, you know, where is the staff that's supposed to be watching my kids, you know? And I'm so glad he didn't get around the curtain and saw, you know, Ryan like that, his father. And I was pissed, you know, I was so mad, and I was yelling at the staff, and they're like, we're sorry. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to be watching my kids. What if he saw that? You know, and I'm angry, I'm pissed. At this point, that's it. You know, it's like, I don't know what's going on with the staff. I mean, maybe they're shaken up, whatever. But the fact that Nico almost saw, I was furious. And at that point, I wanted to get out of there, because everything going on, I was emotional. And, you know, I couldn't really be hysterical like I wanted to, you know, with the kids there. So I had seen enough. Seeing him like that, it was just hard enough. And then that happened, and I just remember like, okay, I need to get out of here. You know, I don't want to be in a hospital around people. I need to process everything that's gone on. So they're like, okay. So they, you know, walk us out, and they give me some of Ryan's belongings. And, you know, it just, I don't say anything at this point. And we're leaving the hospital, and one of the male nurses is helping, you know, carry Wylan in the diaper bag. And, you know, we get to the car, and it's probably close to 5 a.m. at this point. And, you know, they help me in the car, and that's pretty much it. And then, you know, I just want to get the hell out of there. So we leave the hospital, and I don't even get on the freeway. I take like the side roads to get home. And, you know, it's like I'm just again in a state of shock, and I'm driving, and I hear like music in the background, very low, but it's like muffled. And I'm driving, and I see, you know, like the world going on. There's people out jogging, there's people driving to work, you know, people getting their morning coffee. And I just remember like having, it's weird to explain, but I had like blinders on, and it just felt like it was an echo. And, you know, I was like in this haze, if that makes any sense. And I'm just driving, but I just feel like I have a blank stare, like I'm not blinking my eyes, you know, it's just weird. And I don't even know what to say or do. And, you know, I get us home safely, but it seems like the longest fucking drive home ever. And, you know, eventually I get us in, and, you know, the boys are fine. They don't understand what's going on. Wasn't going to have that conversation with them that second. So, you know, get them breakfast and situated, and they're fine. And immediately, you know, it's like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I need to, you know, talk to loved ones. So that's what I do. The first people I call are my parents, and they're just devastated to hear the news, and make plans, because they had to drive almost 8 hours to come to be with us. So they make plans to do that and be with us. So I tell them, and they couldn't believe it, and they were devastated to hear the news. And then of course I check in with Frank, and he already had known what had happened because he also had gotten a phone call from that hospital. And you know, they're like, they told him the same thing. You need to come to Pacifica right now. You need to come to Pacifica right now. And, you know, he actually called them, and he's like, well, I'm in Santa Barbara. You know, can you tell me this over the phone? He somehow convinced them to tell him, which I was just like, I couldn't do that. I was just like, okay, I'm on my way. But he convinced, you know, his background is working in hospitals. He's managed hospitals. So he was able to convince them. Like, he's like, I know what these phone calls are. Like, you need to just tell me over the phone. And that's what he knew what was up. And when I checked in with him, he was like, are you okay? And, you know, pretty much made plans to come and, come be with us after he, you know, was going to let Diane know, but her home didn't open until 8 in the morning. So he was waiting for it to open, and he had to go break the news to her. And then they came down to be with us that day as well. So that's what I did for the next couple of hours. Just pretty much checked in with loved ones, his best friends, you know, like Seth, Ryan Romnerace, and certain people, and just pretty much broke the news. What had happened. I can't say that. What happened. And that was pretty much it, you know, and that's the conclusion to how I found out. You know, just reliving that right now, it's like, oh, I have to take a deep breath, but it's still heavy on my heart. And there's more, you know, to the story after what happened. And I've been sharing those on Patreon, but I just wanted to conclude how I found out, because where it left off, it said I walked into the room and saw the bottom of his feet, and that was it. And I remember seeing some of the comments like, what happened after? So I just wanted to conclude the story. But that's pretty much it, guys. So I guess that's it for now. But again, as always, thank you, love you, and of course, palabra.